cakesandcardio.com. We have another Christmas video for you today. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the surprise inside a vertical stripe inside your cake. So it's got a lot of steps to it, but it's pretty simple. It looks a little bit tricky, but I'm going to talk you through it and show you how to do it. So let's get started. So the ingredients to make the cake, we're going to need 8 eggs. We're going to be using 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of granulated sugar, and we have a half a cup of milk, 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then we're going to be using these like little peppermint candies, some red and green gumdrops, and then you're going to need about between 4 to 6 cups of whipping cream. Oh, and I've got some gel paste down here too, red and green for the seasonal colors. And then what you're also going to need to have prepared ahead of time is an 8-inch cake, and I'm going to use a white vanilla cake. So I have my stand mixer fitted with my whisk attachment, and I'm going to put my eggs into this, and then I'm going to whisk it on high until it's nice and light and quite fluffy. And while they're whisking, I'm going to heat my milk up, probably be for about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes until the milk is really hot. So I'm going to put the mixer on, slowly add the lemon juice, and heat up the milk. So the eggs are nice and fluffy now, and I'm going to add in the sugar, and I've heated up the milk and it's nice and hot. So I'm just going to pour the sugar in, and then I'm going to put it back onto high and add, well, while it's on medium, I'm going to add the milk, and then I'll put it back up to high to let it remix completely. Now, because I'm using this for a Christmas cake, I'm going to be making my batter green. So I'm just taking my Americolor gel and I'm just squeezing it a little bit into there to make it a nice Christmas green. But if you're doing it for another type of party or another season, obviously you can change the color up, or you can also just leave it like it is without any color. So I'm going to mix that all in, and then I'll show you the next step. My green batter is here, and I've left it in the stand because it's a little bit easier to do the next step with it locked in place. And what I've got in my silver bowl here is the flour, and I'm putting in the baking powder and the salt. And then using a whisk, I'm just going to whisk it around to mix it in. And then I'm going to just kind of eyeball about 1/3 of the flour mixture, and I'm going to put it into the green mixture here. And then using a spatula, I'm just going to fold it. So I'm just going from down the side, underneath, and then bringing it back up. So this is gradually going to thicken our cake batter here. So I'm just going to make sure I get each of the 3rd portions all mixed in together. And when you're doing it, you'll find that while you're stirring, you'll find some of the flour pieces come up to the top, and they'll break up, and you'll just keep folding them back in and mix them all together. So you want to do this in the 3 different parts, and once I've got all the flour mixed in, we're going to put them onto our trays. So I have 2 jelly roll pans here in front of me, and they're lined with wax paper, and I've also sprayed them with non-stick spray. Now the batter that we just made is enough for a double batch, which is why I have the 2 pans. If you don't want to have as big of a cake roll as what we're going to make, half all those ingredients that I just told you about, and then you can do 1 pan instead of 2. So I'm just going to eyeball my division here, and then I'm going to use an offset spatula to smooth it out and make sure my cakes are nice and flat. Now, they're going to bake in a preheated oven at 375 degrees, and they're only going to bake for about 10 minutes. They don't need long to bake, but you want to make sure that before you put them in that you flatten them out like this, and that they are nice and smooth. So when I've done that, I will be back to do the next step. So I have the whipping cream in the stand mixer with the whisk attachment again, and I'm going to whip my cream up. If you want to add a little bit of icing sugar or granulated sugar, you can to sweeten it up a bit, but since the cake's probably going to be sweet, I'm just going to not put any of that in, but I am going to put in red once I get it nice and thick. So I'm going to start that mixing now. So my whipping cream is nice and thick now, and this is the point where you would add the sugar if you want to add the sugar. And I'm just going to squeeze some of my coloring in here. It will come out of my little bottle, there we go. And I'm going to mix that up until it's the shade of red that I want. If I want it to be darker red, I'll just add more coloring, and then it will be ready to put onto the cake roll. So once the cake has cooled completely, I've got it here still with the wax paper underneath. You can take it off if you want to. That part doesn't really matter yet. And what I've also marked is 3 different stripes that we're going to be cutting. So these lines of toothpicks right here are at 3 1/4 inches. The second one is at 6 1/2 from this edge. And this one is at 9 3/4 from this edge as well. So I've got my nice long cake knife, and I'm just going to kind of mark myself the line here and continue on up right to the top. And then I'm just going to cut it all the way down. And I'm going to repeat that with my 6 line and also with my 9 line. And I'll also have to do that with the second cake slab as well. So I have the initial cake slab here cut like you saw before, and now I have my red whipping cream that I've got here, and I'm just going to put probably about 1/2 cup, 1/4 cup of whipping cream on, and I'm just going to smooth that onto each one of these layers. And I'm trying to keep it probably a little tiny bit away from the edge. It's not really a big deal if you get right up to the edge, because lots of the whipping cream is going to squeeze out anyways, but just it keeps it a little bit neater if you just don't go all the way. So I'm going to repeat that with these other ones and with the other cake slab. To make an 8-inch round cake roll, I'm going to be using 4 of these individual strips. Now that means that there's going to be 2 extra ones, which you can use in case of breakage, or you could also use in case you want to put a little bit extra, or you can even use them to wrap them around to make a larger cake base. So what we do is, this is the fun part where we get to start rolling everything. So we just start at the base of one of the cake strips here, and we just start rolling. So we're going to roll this all the way up, and your cake should be nice and light, and it will just roll with you like this until you get all the way to the end. And then you're going to pick it up, and then you're going to line up that end that you just left with and at the start of the next one, and just keep rolling that like that. So I've just repositioned things here so you can see how I'm going to keep rolling. So I've got the 2 strips here in the roll up here, and I'm just going to keep going around here with this next one, the 3rd one. And then the 4th one, it gets a little bit trickier just because it hardly is going to go around it much. It's kind of equal to the size of the actual cake. So there's not much rolling at the end. So just like that, we're going to roll that up. Now you want to wrap this pretty tightly in saran wrap, and then you're going to put it into the freezer in order for it to freeze solid, because while you want to get the next stuff ready, you want this to be solid so it doesn't pop open on you when you start to decorate. Now we're going to assemble the cake. So here I have my 8-inch round, and I've cut it in half. So I've got 2 thin slices. And on top of that, I am going to put some white buttercream. Now, if you wanted to stick with the whipping cream, feel free to do that. I like the buttercream instead, just because it's a bit more of a cement, I guess you could say, for the cake. So I've got my little layer here. And now I'm going to take my cake roll and put my cake roll right on top of there, like that. And I think she's on there. And then I'm going to cover this part here with the buttercream. And then I'm going to put the other white or vanilla piece on top of this. So now that we have the cake assembled, what we're going to do is cover the whole entire thing in a thin layer of white buttercream. So to finish off icing the cake, what I have here is my piping bag fitted with a 104 tip. Now we're going to do the striping effect with the gel paste, and I'm going to put 1 single stripe in on top of where the narrow part of the tip is there. So I'm just going to dip my paintbrush that I just used for this kind of thing into the gel paste, and then I'm just going to, from the narrow point of the tip, just stripe the bag like that, and then I'll fill it up with my white buttercream and repeat with the red one. So I have my 2 bags of icing ready to go and my cake is prepped. So what I'm going to do is line up the fat part of the 104 tip, and that's going to be against the bottom of the cake and along the side. And then I just squeeze in a ribbon back and forth, zigzag motion, and you'll see that color start to pop out. So I'm going to alternate between the green stripe and a red stripe, and I'm going to go all the way around the cake. So I finished my ribbons all the way around the sides, and now I'm just going to start decorating the top, and I'm just going to alternate from a red gumdrop to a little peppermint and then to a green gumdrop, and I'm just going to do that all the way around the top of the cake. So I'm going to slice into the cake too, so when I come back you'll be able to see what it looks like on the inside. So there you go, everybody. You can see inside the surprise vertical stripes in this cake. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this really cool Christmas cake idea. If you liked it and you want to check out more Christmas ideas, make sure you watch our Christmas playlist. We've got lots of other ideas from there from years past that we've done for you. So thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all again next time.